What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. You can even follow me on Twitter like so many people did yesterday. Thank you so much. It was absolutely incredible. Thank you for that. We also had some updates on the member side of things. We had Pirate Princess rejoin yesterday, and we also had Savage Ink Studios upgrade their membership. Thank you so much for doing you. I can't tell you how much it does mean to me. And honestly, every day I log into my computer, go on Twitter or YouTube or Discord, there's always something to surprise me there, and I'm ever so thankful for what you do. So thank you so much, and let's just crack on with today's stories before I start ugly crying. Now, our first story comes from It Should Be Her. Am I the arsehole for telling my parents I hope their decision haunts them in death? My twin and I are the oldest of 5 siblings, all in our 20s. Our parents have always called me the good son, and I've always looked out for my siblings. This includes my twin. My twin is the kind of person who can't hold a job, but it's never his fault, despite constantly calling out and faking illness. He always takes but never gives back. You get the picture. But we always just brush it off as he's family. I, however, stop with the enabling behaviour. Recently, I was discussing my parents' wills with them. My twins and I don't make that much, but we get by. Our other siblings make okay to decent money. My parents told me that they intended to leave the house and a good amount of money to my twin. The rest of us would get equal amounts of everything else. I asked them why they would give so much to the kid who has done nothing but leech off them and never helped when they needed it, despite talking about how he would any other day, but conveniently not the day they asked him. They shrugged it off with, he's our kid, and we know you can't carry him forever with how he's acting, so we might as well give him a safety net. I tried to protest, saying that their final gesture was basically further enabling him. I myself have stopped defending this guy. He is barely hanging by a thread, and he needs to learn how to make it on his own. I think this information would just make him smug and complacent, but my parents won't see it my way. I blew up at them, saying that they better hope this decision doesn't haunt them in death, especially because my sister just finished her chemo and is paying off her medical debt. The amount she and the rest of us are being left would cover some of it, but still leave a bit for her to pay off herself. If anyone deserved to have a house and that much money, it's her. My parents later told my other brother their side of what happened, and he thinks that although twins sucks, it's ultimately mum and dad's money and house, so it's their choice. I think my frustration at the situation is justified, but I probably should have calmly explained it to my parents. Am I the arsehole for that outburst? You know, we've seen this situation a few times now, and usually in this story when someone tries to override someone's will or tell them what to do with their money, it's going to be a you're the arsehole, simply because you're telling them what to do with their own money, which you just cannot do. One part I didn't get is you said that you blew up at them, saying that you hope this decision doesn't haunt them in death. And then you went on to say, especially because my sister just finished her chemo, and you carried on from there. And I wasn't sure if that part was relayed to the parents itself, because I think, you know, that initial blow up is a bit of an arsehole move. And like we had in the story yesterday, I always just think there's better ways to sit down and explain the situation, because if you didn't, you may have done this, so I might be wrong in this, but sitting down and actually truly explaining the situation with your sister and her chemo and what she's going through, how you guys are feeling about the matter, is always a better way. You know, you still might not get anywhere, but I think it's a better way than just saying like, I hope this doesn't haunt you in death, which seemed a bit, you know, dark. But at the same time, I do understand OP's frustrations in this matter. They got a lazy bum of a brother going on here who seems to do nothing, and like OP said, that his behaviour is being enabled time and time again, so he thinks he can just do whatever he wants, and him being gifted a house is just going to further enable this behaviour, so I totally understand it. But Secret Ratto says, I think your parents are pretty awful for worrying more about the financial stability of a healthy moocher than they are about a child struggling to beat cancer. It is their money and they can do anything they want with it, but they sound horrible. As long as you were arguing that your sister should get more due to her vulnerability and not to increase your own inheritance, not the arsehole. Maybe you and your other siblings can donate your portions or part of your portions to her in order to help, if/when the time comes. And Mary K007 says, not the arsehole, I personally hate when parents play favourites in wills. It sets up a terrible relationships after the last parent passes. I hope they reconsider. And Mock says, not the arsehole, ultimately it's their call, but if they favour one sibling over others, then they can't just expect to be treated as first class parents by their second class children. And Cult Queen says, not the arsehole, but remember this conversation when they need help in their old days. And Floppy Eared Dog says, technically you're the arsehole as it's your parents' money and their choice. Morally you're right. Why on earth are they enabling a son who is physically healthy but not addressing his mental health issues or attitude problems and not helping their cancer-stricken daughter who has massive debts? Morally not the arsehole. I know it's their money, but your parents' actions strike me as reprehensible in regards to your sister, not you. If you were all healthy, I would say your parents were unfair and unjust for not splitting the inheritance equally. Edit, to be honest, I think they've done your brother a great disservice by enabling him all these years. All around, a parenting fail. And I think that's kind of the way that I was thinking in this situation too. Morally, absolutely not the arsehole, and I totally get where this guy is coming from. And putting myself in that position and knowing I had these children, and I just couldn't see myself doing it, you know, but obviously it happens. And I try to put myself in like the parents' mindset and what are they actually thinking? Are they just like overly stressed, like, you know, what is going to happen to their son after they pass? Because obviously he seems to be relying on his parents quite a lot by the sounds of it. So what's going to happen after they pass, and is that their main concern? And I do have some sort of empathy towards that because obviously they're very much worrying, but they are sort of neglecting their other children because of that, which isn't on, but I'm just trying to understand the mindset, you know. And I'm not excusing the behaviour, don't get me wrong. But now it's time to turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation and what would you do in it? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Not Wedding. Am I the arsehole for refusing to pay for my daughter's wedding? I'll be using fake names for this and apologies for any errors. I'm typing this on my phone. My daughter Ellie, 27 female, recently got engaged, and to say I despise her fiance would be the understatement of the century. Tom is nothing but a pile of human garbage, to put it nicely, and the last person I'd ever want my daughter to be with. In the 3 years they have been together, he's cheated on her 5 times. One of the times that happened was right after my daughter has suffered a miscarriage and he needed his time to grieve. Claims to be a freelance writer but hasn't had a paying gig even before COVID, so my daughter pays all the bills and barely does anything aside from sitting on his ass all day. I know this because my son stayed with her for a couple of months and complained how Tom just expected him and Ellie to do everything around the apartment, despite them both working all day while he stayed home. My wife and I have had so many sit downs with her, individual heart to hearts about her relationship, how toxic Tom is, and she deserves so much better. Ellie always said that they're working on their relationship and he's becoming a better man. Yet the last time he cheated was 3 months ago. So many times I've told Ellie to have some love and respect for herself because this isn't how she should be treated. We've asked if something deeper was going on that made her afraid to leave and would support her in whatever way possible to get her out of that relationship. I don't know if it's denial, but she swears things are improving and gets defensive the more we talk about it. They announced their engagement a few weeks ago and I am beyond disappointed. When my daughter asked if I'd be willing to help pay for the wedding, as I did when my older daughter got married, I told her I refuse to pay for a wedding I don't support. I said I will always love her no matter what, but I believe it's a mistake and I can't pay for something I don't support. My daughter has been upset ever since and has been urging my wife to talk to me. As much as she hates Tom, my wife thinks it's not fair that I paid for our other daughter's wedding and not Ellie's, and we need to set this aside to support her. Tom had the audacity to call me and I gave him a piece of my mind. There's been a lot of conflict around this. Ellie is upset I don't support their marriage and won't pay for it, but I simply can't bring myself to support a relationship that has only caused my daughter pain. So yes, my wife says I'm being a little bit of an a-hole. I'm having a hard time seeing it that way. Unless my daughter changes her mind, they'll still get married regardless if I help them, but I'd still rather not pay a cent. Am I the arsehole? Now again, I'm going to start off by just trying to put myself in OP's shoes in the situation and seeing my daughter that's been cheated on 5 times. I can see I'd be fucking infuriated by that as well. And I like he says, I couldn't support that knowing, and I know it's a difficult situation because, you know, you're pushing your daughter away at the same time by doing this. But I couldn't see myself wanting to support that marriage. I wouldn't want to be in with Tom either. He sounds like an asshole. So I think I wouldn't pay for the wedding. That's for one thing. I definitely wouldn't do that. But I would make sure, like we've seen in other stories and things like that, that you need to keep your daughter supported. Let her know you're there for her. Let her know you love her. No matter what the situation, no matter what comes up, you are there to support her, because it sounds like she's in denial at the moment. And yes, if you don't pay for the wedding and show anger against Tom constantly, I think you will push her away, but you still need to show that you will be there for her no matter what she says. You know, you're not stopping her from getting married in this situation. You're just refusing to pay for something you don't agree with. And I think that's absolutely fair to do. So I think no one's an arsehole here apart from Tom. He's a major arsehole. And all I can say is I hope you show her love and support, because one day she will need it. And Knox Wild says, not the arsehole, suggestion. Take the amount of money you spent on your other daughter's wedding and put it into a separate bank account. Don't put Ellie's name on the account or tell her about it. Keep it safe for her just in case there comes a day when she wants out of this marriage. I think that's a fantastic idea. And Zero Ghost 8 says, strong, not the arsehole. Your reasoning is sound and appropriate. You're going to get a ton of people here saying, you are because, but family. But you are absolutely doing the right thing, as long as you're prepared for her to hold animosity about it. Help and support your daughter being abused is ridiculous. And Firefly says, offer to pay for premarital counselling for them and individual counselling for Ellie if she will take it. Not the arsehole, let them pay for it, save the money for a divorce lawyer. And Forerunner Love says, not the arsehole. My mum did this for my ex-fiance, and honestly, I swore up and down to my mum everything was improving, but it's because I could not come to terms with it. It always seemed like it was myself not good enough to make him be a good man. But anyways, my mum was the same way, and thank goodness I opened my eyes before the wedding date, and my mum used some of the money she had for the wedding to help me out of that situation, and got me back on my feet, away from him. Support your daughter, OP, even though she may not know she needs it now. And from a former lost daughter, thank you for looking out for your daughter, even though she doesn't realise it. She will soon appreciate it. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? And what do you think OP should be doing in this situation? Should he be paying for the wedding? Shouldn't he? Is there any other way around it? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for not going to my friend's wedding because there wasn't any vegan food? Pre-COVID. So me, 23 at the time, and Alex, 24 male, were friends for 15 plus years. We were very close and he knew I was vegan for a long time. Became vegetarian in middle school, transitioned to vegan in high school. He seemed to respect my beliefs. Unfortunately, we began to drift apart since graduation, but it was natural, so I was sad but didn't worry too much about it. Fast forward to me fresh out of college and I get invited to Alex's wedding. I was excited and messaged him what food will be there for me, to which he replied that there won't be vegan accommodations. I was shocked and asked him why, and he said he forgot I was vegan and it was too late to make changes. I honestly felt betrayed. So I told him I wouldn't be going. He then got really mad and accused me of being selfish and said that weddings weren't only about food, and apparently he was really hurt as he hasn't talked to me since. However, I've been thinking about this recently. In retrospect, I might have been rude about it, and I don't think it was worth ruining a long relationship over something minor, so I kinda regret not going. Am I the arsehole? And we're going to head straight to the comments with this one, with Impossible Bop saying, you're the arsehole. There's nothing wrong with not attending a wedding. You don't even need a reason not to go, just politely decline. But you are being a huge arsehole for acting like a free meal is really the point of a wedding. That's pretty rude, and it's pretty damn entitled to expect a special catered vegan option for just one person. You know catering is expensive as fuck, right? You could have just asked if you could bring your own food. It wouldn't have been hard. And Jesseldu says, hate to say it, but I think you're the arsehole here. You said yourself you had grown apart and hadn't been in contact, yet expect him to remember your dietary preferences over all those years. People change a lot after high school, your friend included, so the fact he is no longer following the same lifestyle, as hinted at by the very lack of options, would mean it wouldn't be the main thing he remembers about you. Also, as tacky as it seems, could you not have brought your own food, discreetly asked someone to store it in the kitchen, then enjoyed reconnecting with your friend? I understand such a course of action would have led to some feelings of isolation from the rest of the guests, but changing an entire meal plan to accommodate one person is honestly both unrealistic and unreasonable to expect. Sorry if this sounds harsh, but I'm getting the whole vegan who walks into a barbecue place then gets pissed there's no vegan option vibe here. I'm not suggesting you are that militant, but there are limitations to the lengths of people are obligated to go to accommodate your needs. And Avast says, "You're the arsehole," and quotes, "I felt betrayed," and then says it's not always about you. You even said the two of you had been drifting apart. You frankly aren't important enough in the scheme of his life to merit betrayed as a reaction. You allow your relationship to decay until you weren't important to each other, and then got mad when he treated your concerns with the level of deference one gives to a casual acquaintance. Which is exactly what you had allowed yourself to become. Here's a clue. If it was already too late to change the catering orders, you were a late replacement invitation for someone who declined. Oh yeah. Nor was what happened to you bad enough to rank you as betrayal. You were at most mildly inconvenienced. You're being the sort of self-important arsehole that gives vegans a bad name. Now what do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Concerned Grandma. Am I the arsehole for looking after my grandson against daughter-in-law's wishes? I, 49 female, have recently had an argument with my son, 25 male, and his wife, 24 female. The details are too long to get into, but suffice it to say that neither side behaved well, and I have since regretted my actions. As a result, son and daughter-in-law have asked for some space between us for just a short while, so we can all cool off before talking again. This is something that made sense to me and I agreed. I was a little sad because I used to go over there and look after my grandchild, and I was going to miss him, but son said it was best for now for me not to be involved with him for a while. The conflict happened when I went over to my daughter's, 22 female, son's sister's place. I often drop by in the evening with cookies as we live in this same apartment complex. That day my daughter happened to be watching my grandson, son and daughter-in-law's child, for their date night. My daughter did not know about the big fight between me and son, as we all had agreed to keep family drama to a minimum until we sorted it out. We talked for a bit, then while I was there she had an urgent phone call from work and asked if I wouldn't mind looking after grandson while she took it. I was uncertain because son asked me not to care for him until we talked again. But I also wanted to let my daughter take the call and there was no one else in the apartment, so I said yes. I was playing with my grandson when a knock sounded. When I went to get it, with my grandson in my arms, I saw his daughter-in-law at the door. She completely freaked out, immediately took grandson away from me while saying a string of choice words in my direction. I tried to explain, but she walked away before I could finish. Now son and daughter-in-law are even angrier with me. Am I the arsehole for looking after my grandson? Now, my spidey senses are tingling.
Wow, great reflexes.
And I'm thinking that you already knew that son was going to be around that place and that's why you went round there anyway. And you knew it was their date night. You mentioned it in the post, so you knew it was the date night, so you knew the son was going to be somewhere. And I bet you assumed it was there. So you went round there for that purpose to see grandson, even though you've been explicitly told not to. So I think you're definitely going to be the arsehole in this situation, and you've just made things 10 times worse because you've just proved yourself untrustworthy in this situation. Yeah, you've just damaged yourself in this situation. That's all there is to it, really. But Stoked King says, "You're the arsehole. This was against the parents' explicitly stated wishes and you know it. Massive red flag. I wouldn't let you anywhere near my kids. You clearly think that your wishes override those of the parents. Who knows what you will decide to do next? As a side note, don't expect to make up soon. This supersedes an argument. Edit. Having just read your other post about your family, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they get a restraining order against you. I would certainly be taking similar steps in their shoes." So there's another post is there, oh my word. And Chaos and Lace says, "You're the arsehole. Your daughter would have still been able to watch her nephew and take a phone call no matter the age of the kid. Single parents still use a phone, aka your excuse is bogus. I was expecting you to say she was being rushed away in an ambulance or your son was mad for you dropping the cookies and leaving right away. Those are the only reasonable ways for you to not be the arsehole." And Vixen Noir says, "You're the arsehole. If you knew it was their date night, probably because you usually babysit for a date night, then you probably guessed the kid would be with your daughter, or at least hoping. So you shouldn't have been going down there in the first place. If it was an accident, then you should have given the kid one big hug because you were the Grammy and I'm sure the kid would cry otherwise, but then left immediately. There was no excuse for you hanging out against your daughter-in-law and son's wishes. Breaking a boundary set by a parent is a huge no." And then Tibble Tab says, "For anyone who missed her previous post, this is the woman who stole her daughter-in-law's gaming stuff because she didn't feel it was appropriate for a working mother to have. You're the arsehole. Even though I posted an answer before, you're a control deal, or is that freak, with boundary issues. You're going to end up with a restraining order and a criminal trespass and a larceny record if you can't get control of yourself. Right, now we need to find this other post. We need to have a look, see if we can find it. Simply because I need to know what's going on here. So the post is again from OP called Concerned Grandma. Am I the arsehole for taking video games away as an intervention for neglect? And it says, I, 49 female, often go over to my son, 25 male, and daughter-in-law's 24 female's house to help tidy up and look after their toddler. Recently, something has become increasingly concerning, which is that daughter-in-law plays a lot of video games throughout the day, while it's apparent my son is doing most of the chores around the house. I am talking hours and hours in the daytime when she could be spending time with her child. This is the most critical part of the child's life when they bond with their parents and she's choosing to play games instead. I was worried she was having an addiction problem, as she's never been good with impulse control. Unfortunately, my son is wrapped around her little finger, and when I told him my concerns, just tried to defend her. According to him, part of her job is testing video games, which I understand, but the way she's playing is not testing. She's clearly having fun, chatting with people and laughing all the time, not making any notes. I had a good feeling she wasn't working but playing for fun for herself. This just keeps getting worse, and I couldn't help thinking of toddler growing up without a mother's involvement because she was too addicted to games. I wasn't getting through to my son, so I decided to test my theory. I took some of the games, the ones packaged like they were store-bought, and hid them in my car. I figured if she was just playing games for work, this wouldn't affect her, but if she was playing actual games, then she would be upset not to be able to play them. Well, I was right, because daughter-in-law immediately noticed them missing and got alarmingly upset. She accused me of taking them right away and was screaming and putting up a huge, frankly crazy fuss. Normal people don't react this way, only addicts who lose their source of addiction. Besides, I pointed out if she was playing games for work, this did not affect her at all unless she was really playing for fun. I thought of this as an intervention. Daughter-in-law now claims that one of the games I took was specially given to her by a friend. Maybe that's true, but it also seems fishy since all these store games are not unique items, so she could hypothetically buy another, and I plan to give them back anyway after making my point. However, Son is now upset with me too, and I fear I may have overstepped. Even though I did prove my point, maybe I was too extreme. I just wanted what's best for their child, and having an unavailable parent would be neglectful. So now we found out the reason that she's not allowed around anymore. Whew, it got spicy there, but absolutely she's the arsehole. I mean, I don't even know where to go with this one. She's just the arsehole. There is no comments on this one because this thread was locked previously, and it was posted a couple of days ago. Wow. But what do you guys think of this whole situation? Let me know in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it truly helps out our channel. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, and if you want to support the channel further, you can by clicking that join button down below, or clicking the link for Patreon in the description. It is really super helpful, and I can't thank you enough for doing it. So thank you so much, and let's crack on with today's stories, what I'm going to say, and I will see you in the next one. Oh, I can't do any more just yet. Much love, guys.